The problem with poetry is, well, this is such a rich title, such a pregnant title with so many possibilities in it. The problem with poetry is, there's so many problems with poetry. Poetry is problematic. Poetry is a problem. Poetry is something that problematic people do. Poetry is something that problematic people read. Poetry is not normal. By definition, it is not normal. It is not useful for almost anything other than maybe evoke an emotion or give you a momentary feel of something out of the ordinary. Okay, that is a really big thing, actually making you feel. So I can't really say that it's useless. But it is useless. It's poetry. It's worse than art. Who needs poetry? Who wants poetry? Who is writing poetry? Who is reading poetry? I really try not to think about all of these things because I only write poetry for myself. The problem with poetry is that you are expected to play by some rules. You are expected to be some kind of person with a certain personality in order to be in the poetry crowd, in order to publish poetry, in order to look for poetry, to read poetry. I am not really a tribe person. Never been, never will be. I don't really like big groups and I don't like to belong. Poetry is also the art of the loners. So that is another, how shall we say, problem. Are you a loner? Are you trying to get published? Are you trying to read somebody? Do you care if somebody reads? Do you care what somebody thinks? Poetry is a problem. I don't like to belong to the poetry crowd, and there's definitely no money in publishing poetry. So why do I do it? Why do I insist on sitting and writing silly little poems? For myself. Because I have to. Because these things are in my brain, in my mind, in my heart, and if I don't get them out, then I really have a problem. It's like being constipated but for the soul. It just doesn't feel good. You will get sick if you don't get these things out. So I write poetry for myself. Most people write poetry for themselves. By definition, it is a very personal thing to do, to write poetry, to expose your feeling, to expose yourself. It is an extremely private thing. So most people write poetry for themselves. But you do need to be published. You do need to be heard. You do need to be part of a community. Poetry is like a definition that avoids definition. It is a group of people who don't want to be in groups. It is individuals who are fighting to show what they are usually hiding. It is all full of contradictions. This is why it is beautiful. This is why the problem about poetry is the beauty of poetry. Because it is not normal. It is not supposed to be normal. You don't expect it to be normal. You don't expect poets to be normal. You don't expect anything out of it. You don't know what to expect. There are no rules. As I said, it is worse than art. It is complete and utter chaos that finds its beauty only by being rearranged into extremely meticulous words, into structures that are so delicate that if you move a comma, everything falls apart. It is juggling words. It is building a Jenga tower. You know, this game where you have to pull out one piece. It is embroidery It is also calderas moving, mobiles. It is a sports car in full speed. It is water being poured into a glass. It is everything. And that is a big problem. It is everything. It is nothing. It is horrible. It is beautiful. It is a problem. There is no problem about poetry. Poetry is a problem. I also think that it's a disease. Not everybody has it. A lot of people manage to survive it, a lot of people manage to live with it, but it is a form of illness, needing to get poetry out of you, needing to get these feelings, the message out of you. The problem about poetry is that it is beautiful. It is amazing when you do it right, when you get it right, when you read the right poem at the right time in your life, in the right situation. These words can really change your life. These words can change the world if you are not careful enough. This is the problem about poetry, that poetry is the problem and there is no cure.